In February of 2021, Winter Storm Uri descended on the state of Texas. From the 13th through the 17th, Central Texas experienced subzero temperatures and snow, which measured several inches. While in the north these weather patterns are common, in Central Texas they are not, and they caused a world of issues. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to be discussing Snowmageddon, as it's known in our center, the Winter Storm Uri effects.
Yeah.
And they were quite intense.
Yeah, they were. That was nuts.
Yes.
I was at home for some of it.
Yeah. Freezing, I'm sure.
Actually, it wasn't terrible for us. It wasn't great, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been because, anybody that knows me knows that at that time, I had about almost 200 gallons worth of aquariums in my apartment. And I was sweating bullets.
Great.
With all of the life that was around me that could suddenly end and freeze to death if the electricity went off. So it would go off intermittently. Thank goodness we lived literally across the street from one of the major hospitals in town. So I believe that's one of the things that saved us. We were on their grid.
Yes, yes. But for many people in Austin and the surrounding areas, that was not quite the case. So the winter weather froze. It was very sub-zero. It got down to even in the negatives at times. Natural gas plants were not winterized for that, so they went offline.
Yeah.
The wind turbines that we have a lot of in North and West Texas also went offline because of that. And the entire power grid just kind of nearly went to something that they call a black start, which is when you have to shut the entire grid down and then bring it up piece by piece. And that can take quite a while, like several weeks or even months even. So, from what I read on that, and I'm not in the power business, but I had done some research on that, and the state of Texas was maybe 15 or 20 minutes away from being in that condition at times. So that's why they started shutting down power to almost everything, just to kind of keep it going.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah. And in Austin, the city has very many things, but one thing it does not have is a plow. So when that snow started falling, there was no way to clear the roads off, so the roads became mainly impassable for the duration of that.
Yeah.
And if you're from Texas, you know of a company called H-E-B, which is a grocery store.
Yep.
It's sort of the flagship company of Texas in a lot of ways. Whenever there's a disaster, they send their H-E-B disaster recovery truck, and it has water and it gets there before FEMA.
Amazing. Yes.
Yes. But even H-E-B shut down.
Yeah.
For this time, and usually they're only closed on Christmas. So a lot of people were without power. A lot of people were without heat, without water, without food for several days, and it was an exciting and terrifying time at the same time.
Yeah, I don't remember. Did you work all of it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
I had tried to go in the morning that it started snowing, but my car, I tried to pull it out of my driveway, and I have a small car, a Focus, and it couldn't get enough traction to go because I forgot to put the snow tires on, which I don't own.
Right.
So I had to actually wait until 10 or 11:30 that morning when one of my neighbors who has a large truck drove out. I was able to get into the ruts that they made in the snow and get enough traction to eventually kind of get out and get onto the road. And let me tell you, the 25 minutes from my house to our communications center white knuckle driving. Like I don't think I've ever had a more stressful driving experience because, like, again, and for those of y'all in the north, you may not understand that, but like we really don't like what we do for our snow mitigation is put sand on the road.
Sure.
Which normally works just fine.
Because
but
we
in
don't
this
have
particular
snow.
You're right. Yeah, I mean, we might get like a flake of snow, but this was like snow. Like it was like real snow. Like
we get like we get a dusting, is what they like to call it. Just a little,
light dusting.
Just a light dusting, just enough to make everything look a little pretty, and we go ooh, because we don't.
But
see
it does. Yeah, but even that will still shut the city down. Like
Absolutely.
if we get ice, the city shuts down because we're just not accustomed to dealing with that.
No,
so,
and rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because people. My husband is from Colorado, so he was looking around like, what? What?
Mm-hmm.
He was like, what is the problem? He quickly realized what the problem was when stuff starts shutting down, and I mean in like there's no water.
Mm-hmm.
Pipes bursting all over the place, and no electricity because and I spent a few years in Colorado myself working at Denver 911, so this was nothing. That is, but that part of the country is built for it.
Right, and
Central
we're not.
Texas is not.
Mm-hmm. Because there were reports of people, because like a lot of apartment complexes here use heat pumps for both heating and cooling because they're more efficient. But if it gets too cold, they don't work. So,
Right.
And then it got so cold that the pipes were bursting. Mm-hmm. So people's apartments were getting flooded with water, and they had no heat. There were reports that people were breaking up furniture and burning it inside their house, burning
Which causes
their
its own problems.
Yes, it does. Don't do that.
Ever.
You're not a caveman. Don't put a fire in your house. There are reports of people bringing their charcoal and gas stoves inside and lighting them on. And also, don't do that because carbon monoxide is a very real thing that will kill you.
Yes.
And just all over, like I remember. Just driving into work, and like I was behind like an 18-wheeler, and on the major highway we have like an upper and a lower deck, and I was driving behind him because I was like, I can get some traction because he's moving the snow out of the way, and he took the upper deck, and I'm like, no. And he slowed down. I'm like, if he starts like coming back at me, I'm gonna just get creamed by an 18-wheeler. But thankfully that didn't happen.
Wow.
But yeah, it was. We were very unprepared for it, I would say. Like nobody, I think, understood the level of severity that incident was going to be. How was sort of your first day getting into work?
So I think the first couple of days, I think one day I was off. I think the first day when it was really, when it started coming in, I was off that day. So I didn't have to go in. But then the very next day was my first day to report for my coming off of RDOs. So I go to get in the car. Everything's fine. I just put on my Colorado hat and was like,
sure,
please, I got this. And so I got in the car. I had my go bag. I had my stuff. I was good to go. And I had packed for it, right? Because I knew it was coming in. I get in the car. And the apartment complex that I lived in at the time, as I was heading out of the driveway, it goes down. So it was on a...
steeply, I'm sure.
I got to the top, and I went, ooh. I might want to rethink this. So I backed up, and I was going to go... I was going to go out the other exit, which was it was more level. Well, I couldn't get around because there was no snowplow. There was nothing in the... And I'm actually now, even as I say that, I was off for 2 days. So going into the next day, the day that I was about to report. By then, the snow had actually turned into snow ice, or it was just, there was no
traction, just a sheet
nothing.
of slickness.
Yes. So when I was able to back up and not go down the slide of death, is what I was thinking that would be out of the one entrance or exit, whatever you want to call it. Because no matter which way you could go out of that one, you were going to either go uphill and not be able to get in, or downhill and not be able to stop.
Yeah.
So as I was able to turn around ever so slowly and inch my way back to the other exit, I'm like, okay, there's nowhere to go. Because by then, I don't even know how this happened, but there were like big, like the speed bumps in apartment complexes?
Yeah.
Well, the ones that were headed past the office and out to that actual exit, I don't even know how to describe how thick they got. And I had a little Chevy at the time.
Not going to cut it?
I couldn't get over it. I could not get over it. It was a speed bump. But it had snowed and snowed, so it had built up. And then that froze. And then more snow, and then that froze. So there was I couldn't get the front of my car over it. I couldn't go anywhere.
And so just kind of stuck.
So I just kind of went, I turned around and went home. There was nothing I could do. And I felt so bad because I was prepped for it. I was ready. I was going to work. I was going to come charging in to save the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people kind of were in that same situation because for those of us that were kind of like at the communication center, we knew that likely no relief was coming at any point.
Yeah.
And so the roads were pretty much impassable. And then the electricity had to be turned off. Our center has its own generator and water cistern. So as you know, we went on to our own independent power, and then our own independent water when they had to shut the water off because it had become contaminated since the pipes burst and then let in bacteria. So I had like around day 3 or so, I'd kind of done a calculation, and I was like, based on how much water we're using in terms of the flushes and the showers, so I was like, we're not going to have enough water if we keep using showers and stuff. We need to really just reserve that for flushes. But unfortunately, we did run out of potable water. So, that was, a challenge. And then anything we made, we had to boil it. But it was okay because we also ran out of food, in the break room. And then we had when the building was opened, 20 years ago, they had purchased MREs, meals ready to eat, but those had expired.
Yep.
So it was pretty much just the food that was in the convenience store at the break room, and like that went out, and so like the food was pretty light there for 2 or 3 days.
Wow.
And the fuel for the generator also almost ran out because I think it's supposed to have like 6 or 7 days worth of fuel, and
something like that.
But there's no fuel gauge on it, so you never know. You got to like open it up and like, I don't know, stick your finger or a stick in there, I don't know, to see how much fuel's in there.
There's no gauge?
So not to my knowledge. I think they've had that unit replaced since then, but initially, yeah. But thankfully we didn't run out of power, because if we'd run out of power, then the whole show's over on that part.
It would have been bad. That would have been a bad set of circumstances. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So I remember when I was finally able to get into work, I ended up staying. I was able to get in one morning. I don't remember exactly what day that was, but I ended up staying from like 6 o'clock in the morning. I was able to get there all day, all of what would have been the 2 to 10 shift. I slept at some point, but now it's been a little while, so I don't remember exactly when I slept, but I remember having a nap, and that was it.
Yeah.
But when I got there, there were people who had been there days. By then, days. and there was no place to sleep. And I remember our lieutenant who was there at the time, he's like, he looked up at me and he says, "You here for the long haul?" I'm like, "I'm here till it's over with." And I had, several days worth of stuff. I ended up not needing as much of it, but he found me a place to sleep. I don't even know whose office that was.
Yeah.
But I had my little,
'Cause, like,
my little air mattress, my little pillow, and my PJs, and my little portable fan. Thank you very much.
you're ready
And
to go.
I carved out a little space in this person's office, and I still don't know whose office that was. Maybe an HR person.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. And I shared that office with someone else whom I still didn't see, because when they were asleep, I was up. And when I was up,
Yeah.
they were asleep. So I still don't know whose stuff that was in the corner.
Yeah, and because we did have some people that were better prepared than others. We had one of the dispatchers. She brought in this. It was like a king size inflatable bed, like a 4-poster bed. It was very lavish. And then on the other end of that were people like me who didn't really have anything. And so I ended up just sleeping on the floor in front of our lieutenant's office, and then like he'd step over me as he was going in and out of the office.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did bring a sleeping bag, but so I guess that did help out a lot, which I was appreciative of. But yeah, it was just sort of you wake up, you work and work and work until you get to until you can't work anymore. Then you go to sleep, and then catch a few hours of sleep. Then you get back up and start it all over again, because those emergencies still keep happening.
And something that I don't know, I would imagine we're not the only agency that has this capability, but we had to patch radios. We had to patch channels together.
Oh, yeah.
Because there were not enough dispatchers to man them individually like what we typically would do. That's our standard operating procedure, is one dispatcher per channel that we have that is a fixed channel. So for us, what is that, 10? Yeah. 10, and plus the 2 or 3 reliefs on a good day that we would have. There was none of that. So I think we had, if I remember right, I wasn't there for this, but I remember hearing that at one point they had sergeants on the street dispatching their own officers.
Yeah, which is very uncommon for our agency. I remember having a discussion with another one of the supervisors, because she was like, we only patch radios in an emergency. And I'm like, well, if this isn't an emergency, what would you constitute as an emergency? I mean, you're not going to have enough bodies here to do this. I mean, none of these people can leave, but you're still like, you can't work them 24/7. We don't know how long this event's going to happen.
Yeah, because eventually they will go to sleep almost involuntarily at some point. They'll hang in there as long as they can, but eventually they're going to put her out.
Zonk out.
That's just the way it goes. We're not designed to stay awake like that. And would you want that? So that's where the critical thinking and the, just that in the moment making decisions, you just go, you know what, this is not something we would normally do, but today is that day.
Yeah, because you have standard operating procedures, your SOPs for what to do, when to do things, but in an event like this, it's not standard. So you've got to ask yourself, if you're in leadership, especially, like, what can I do to help my organization complete its mission? So how do I keep our community safe? Calls being answered, officers being dispatched, and even if that's outside of SOPs, you've got a reason for why you're doing what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Namely, this is a once in a century storm, and we have to react to it as best we can.
I don't know about you, but one of the things that has never ceased to impress me about that time was the willingness of a select few that could. Their willingness to step up, and not just step up, step all the way up. We had people that came in, I don't know if it was their days off, but they came in prepared to stay the week before it was necessary for them to stay the week.
Yeah. And like people that like I had kind of thought were like they don't really give a crap about this place, but they came in and like it was a really challenging week because there were so few people there to do all the work that needed to be done, and you had to like figure out how to get people off shift so they had enough time to sleep and then still maintain your staffing. But it was really, to me personally, it was probably the highlight of my career that week, just because seeing all those people that did sacrifice so much, that came in and worked and worked and worked and were like, I don't know what we can do, but I'm here,
Yes.
use me.
Yeah.
That to me like really really filled my heart with a lot of pride. And I will always look back on that with a huge measure of thanks to those people, and with knowledge that we did the best we could in that really difficult situation.
And you guys, I remember feeling helpless and frustrated because I could not get there.
Mm-hmm.
There was no way to get there, and there were no Ubers, there were no lifts, there was nothing, and the officers were stretched thin, and they were picking up people that they could pick up. And from where I was, to get me in would have, I wasn't on the outskirts of town, but they were stretched so thin that it would have taken them so long to get to me. In the end, it was just better to hold on one more day and then just go in and be prepared to stay. But I remember not even being there, just hearing the stories and texting from people that I knew were there. I could envision the, I don't know, it's going to sound like a cliche or really corny, but I could just I just remember thinking that these people are doing the ultimate. They are standing watch, and I know that the public probably has no idea what's going on in that strange looking building over there that they see all the time. They don't know that there are people in there that don't have anything to eat.
Yeah.
And I think it got to the place where you guys started sharing candy bars and stuff, right? Or something similar?
Yeah, and it was like the third or fourth day. I think HEB finally opened up, and like some foods were able to come back in. But it got we were very thankful for one family that owns a restaurant. They opened up for us just for us to make some like really like fast, cheap, and dirty like breakfast tacos or something.
Yeah, I think it was Amaya's. It was Amaya's Taco Village.
Yes.
Give them some love and shout out, because they saved our bacon that day. I was there for that, and we were like, everybody had eaten everything they had, pretty much.
Yeah, and it that was really a nice sight, especially like, and to kind of set the stage. So like early 2021, we've gone through the summer of love in 2020, where everybody hated on the police. COVID was still a thing. It was just a big cap to the end. Like I think when Cherie was on, we kind of talked about her first year and how that was kind of like the end cap of that. But yeah, it was like, so really going into that week, personally, I felt very disheartened about just the department and the profession in general. But seeing those people like all come in, all step up, all do what they could, it was such a beautiful moment in a lot of ways. And you hear about those kind of times, but like, it was really, really something to see.
Absolutely. And I have an opportunity a couple of times a year to give a presentation and give a talk to our community police academy, or the Citizens of Police Academy. And many times I reference that when I reference Snowmageddon when I talk to them about the dedication of their public servants. And I use that time to highlight, to really say, okay, if you think that you understand what public service is to the people in this building, I'm sure you do on some level, but let me break it down for you. And I start talking about the people that came in with suitcases and
Yeah.
whatever. They came in the door knowing that there was a very good chance that they would not leave there for 4 or 5 days, if not longer, depending on how long, because nobody really knew how long this thing was going to go on. And they knew
Yeah.
they told us it was going to be bad, but you don't know what bad is until you've experienced. Now, if they said this weather that's coming up, by the time our audience hears this, it will be a week from now, right? Yeah, this will be the whatever Monday
It's
is
the 7th
coming
right
up.
now.
Yeah, so the 13th is when they will hear this. Well, in a couple of days, we're supposed to get Snowmageddon-ish. Esque
Yeah, light. Yeah.
kind of weather. I mean, it's not supposed to be anything remotely close to that. But guess what? I pulled out just yesterday my. I have a bean bag now. I don't have to do an air mattress. I have graduated.
Okay.
I have a bean bag.
Congratulations.
That has, it's got nice little foam beads on the inside, and it zips up, and it's beautiful. And it stretches out as tall as I am, which is a 5'10". No.
I don't know about that.
Okay.
Maybe in French feet.
4'10" ish. So it fits me perfectly. I have my little pink blanket. I've got my groceries are already going to be picked up from HEB on my way to work. I'm set. Because I don't know. I mean, it could not be as bad, but who knows who can't get there. And I'm going prepared that when I leave here tomorrow, headed in for my 2 o'clock shift, because tomorrow night is when it's really supposed to start to kind of start cutting up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I may not leave. I don't know. I may not be back home before, let's see, what'll that be, Wednesday? I may not be back before Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, we just don't know how the weather's going to be. But, I think that an event like Snowmageddon which is what we affectionately call it, was such a great highlight, because there's the people in the whole first responders profession, police, fire, EMS, communications. The driving force, I think, behind 90% of the people is that service to the community, and that need to be helpful. And I think so many times you feel like I'm not doing anything, nothing I do matters. But when you have a moment like that and an opportunity to get out there and help, it really does feel good.
Absolutely. And you do have people, whether they are thinking about it every day, they do realize, wait a minute, there are people that are still, answering 911 calls, and they look up and they see that there are police cars riding around town and EMS trucks and fire trucks. And then I think we often think about first responders in situations like that, and that makes sense because that's what we are. But what about those people that aren't quote unquote public servants? Think about HEB. Think about we found out in COVID that they were essential personnel just like we were, because somebody had to open the grocery store.
Yeah.
And I think we even have agreements with them now, and certain like hotels and things now in preparation for something like that ever happening. Those people are essential to helping us do what we do. And now we have agreements that they will hold a certain number of rooms for us. HEB will open for us. If they don't open for anybody else, they'll open for us. That doesn't make us special in that regard. That, it's not favoritism. That's them recognizing that we have to still do what we do in order to protect and serve the public. So they are doing their part.
Yes. Yeah. And we're very helpful for that. And like a huge shout out has to go out to, like the people that do water and power, and, because those poor linemen, like I don't even know, like I'm sure they were just working like out in the cold. So
street and bridge.
Street and bridge. The garbage men, like
they still have to
pick
go.
Up the garbage.
They still have to go to work, and we think that Yes, what we do is important. Yes, that's true. But we're not the only ones that are essential in situations like this, because there are other divisions of a city government that does not shut down. Hospital
Yeah.
workers, they
And
still got to go.
hospital.
Doctors,
Yeah.
nurses, they still have to go.
Yeah. And it was so cool it was really such a team effort because I guess for me personally, like since COVID started, since we're talking about something in early 2021, like a lot of people started working from home, and it just really was like, you're not really working. Sorry, you're not. And you know, seeing those people that did come in, the water people, the power people, HEB people, first
Gas station, gas station work
gas
people.
station.
Yeah, because we still have to get gas.
Yeah. Even though, like, for a couple of days, like, even the gas stations and HEBs and all of that was closed. So, but, like, the hospital workers, they were still there, the line workers. From the, I guess, the 911 side, especially that first day, we were just inundated with so many calls because our city has a emergency line and a non-emergency line. And the folks that worked on the non-emergency line weren't able to, they couldn't get into work, and also they couldn't work from home because there was no power. So everybody was left calling 911 instead of our non-emergency number. And so we had just hundreds and hundreds of calls for people like, hey, my power's out. So we had to sort of get a community message out there with our, reverse system to say, hey.
I was going to ask, I wasn't there for that. So I think it had that happened within the first couple of days, right? You guys actually used it for that? That's crazy. What was the message?
Yeah, I checked with our watch commander and got the okay on it, but I sent it out to like 1.2 million people, like the entire city. Yeah. I sent it out to everybody, and I was like, this is the Austin Police Department.
That is so freaking cool. Oh, my God.
We're aware that the power is out. Your city government's working to fix it. You do not need to call 911 to report your power out.
Right.
So, and I think that helped reduce the calls because you still have people that are having heart attacks and strokes and crime. Thankfully, did I think take a huge dip because nobody's out stealing when it's 8 degrees.
And everything was closed.
But you still have fires going on. You still have people having crashes.
Yeah.
So thankfully, we were able to keep answering those calls and trying to get help out to people.
1 point some odd million people. Oh, I'm so jelly. Not really, but I mean, it just sounds cool to be able to do that. Wow.
It was exciting. That was the biggest one I've ever done. And then just as kind of the days wore on, like it was really cool because it was almost like there were no shifts anymore. It was just like you saw people that you never like really worked with because they'd be on a different shift, and all of a sudden like, hey, you're working together now because it's 3 a.m. and they're up early and you're up late. So, and like it was just such a sense of it was almost like a summer camp or a sleepover, but like I don't know, it was. I look back on that with like it was a really hard thing to get through, but I look back on it with really fond memories.
Because I can see that because I was there with people that I wouldn't typically work with, and we're all looking around at each other going, this is different. But we suck it up, buttercup, and we just kept working. And it is the definition of first responders and public service and serving the public and just thinking about your fellow man, for lack of a better way to put it, because there were people sharing whatever they had because things got that deep. It got that ugly.
Yeah.
So I am as proud as I can possibly be thinking back to that, because I know Casey was there and Jenny was there. They don't know who they are. But some of our good colleagues that they still talk about what happened, and they were talking about 4-hour shifts and half asleep on their feet and having to poke each other and say, hey, wake up, wake up, or go to sleep because you can't stay awake anymore. Had to look out for
Yeah.
each other and take care of each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just everybody kind of working together, and like because we for like we just kind of pretty much had ourselves to rely on and be like, how do we get through this? Because normally, like, we have a group of people in scheduling that put together the upcoming week's roster, and we were like, you know what, they're probably not going to be able to do that since they don't have any power at home.
That's
so
right.
we just created what I called an emergency roster, and was put together as best possible. And that's
Considering
what we
that's a
ended up
beast of a
using.
job. No, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, and that's kind of what we used. And then,
Wow.
it was like, it was the reason, like, why I got into 911. Is because those kind of moments. I mean, they're hard and they're terrible, and unfortunately, I think somewhere in the area of like 290 people across the country died from that.
Yeah.
But like, knowing that I was, and we were all a part of helping to get out of that, to me,
helping
is
who
like,
you could.
yeah. And again, as you said, not just everybody was a first responder that week.
Yeah. That's amazing.
But I remember driving home after it was kind of all over and started to thaw and melt, just seeing just hundreds of cars just left on the side of the road. Like,
yeah.
it looked like The Walking Dead or something. It was a bizarre feeling.
I remember what I did enjoy about that.
Mm-hmm.
When I was able, because a couple of nights, well, I guess after it was over, and it was pretty much over, but the city was still not quite open, and then people were starting to be able to come out and go. The traffic was amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There was nobody.
I remember when the HEB close to the center opened. I went out with our lieutenant to go pick up some food, and the line was like stretching around the block, and like people just wading through these hip-high piles of snow to try and get in. It was just such an interesting time because it so unique.
Yeah, and I don't know that, and I hope that we never have to go through that again. I'm hoping that the next couple of days, little dusting, little ice and a little sleet and a little snow showers. I'm still trying to figure out what that is, but anyway, I don't know what a snow shower is.
I don't know. It sounds bad.
Yeah, it doesn't sound right, especially not here. But then again, this might be starting to be our new normal. At least once a year, we have something similar to this.
Yeah. So we'll have to find out. I guess when you guys watch this, you'll know if we had a rough one this year or not.
Oh yeah, I guess we're gonna have to come back and at least mention if we how did we make it through.
Yeah.
Because this isn't a Snowmageddon coming up. We have to figure out something to call this. It's like a mini snow day type situation. We come back and when we come back and be like, we made it, we survived, and I'll tell you guys how many days I actually had to stay.
And if we never come back, you'll know we all died. So there you go.
There you go. Right. And we don't have anybody to come on and say, may they rest in peace or anything like that. We'll just kind of go away.
Yeah. So, but hopefully that won't happen.
Okay. We got really dark real quick. Okay. All right. Okay.
But yes, that was sort of our experiences through Snowmageddon in February of 2021. If you guys had any experiences yourself, please feel free to let us know, because we'd really like to hear about them, because it was a heck of an event.
Even if you weren't in Texas, how did you feel if you were in another part of the country watching what was happening in a place that was, I mean, this snow was as far down as like the border.
Yeah.
Which is not, that's just wrong on so many levels. It's just not right at all. Dallas and up yonder, we don't feel bad for them. They get snow every now and then. But
they
yonder,
know what to do there.
Down here, that's a no. That does not happen. So, especially on our YouTube, if you guys, flood the comments. We'd love to hear, because everybody
Yes.
watched. The whole country and parts of the world watched that going on. And so there's bound to be some stories or just anything. We'd love to hear it.
Yes, yes. But I believe that'll be our show for this week. We very much appreciate all of you for watching and joining us. And as Erica said, please let us know in the comments if you had any interesting experience or what your thoughts were, just kind of watching from abroad.
Yeah.
So from all of us here at Lifeline 911, I'm Gary.
I'm Erica.
And we will see you next week.
Thank you for watching our production of Lifeline 911. If you have any questions about today's topic or topics you'd like us to cover in the future, please reach out to us at lifeline911podcast@gmail.com. This has been a production of Lifeline 911 Podcast, copyright 2025. From all of us at Lifeline, stay safe out there. And until next time, this is Lifeline 911 signing off.